Welcome to the ManTFup podcast. I'm KimmyB.
And Lenny.
And we are in the ManCave rolling dolo today, here to hash out, obviously, some of the past week's episodes and some very fun headlines that Lenny has been gathering and sending to me over the course of probably the last 2 weeks. So with that being said, Len, there was a plethora of news and content that we came into today's podcast that we could talk about, but you've really narrowed.
I would agree with you that most of it is kooks. I would totally agree with you that there's a lot of outliers and there's a lot of people, but I feel that's the same way on both sides. So there's outliers here, there's outliers here, both sides.
There are
any information you get off TikTok or Instagram or anywhere else, you can pretty much bet it's a kook.
We're kooks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm not going to.
We're not giving information, really. We're just having conversations. We're giving opinions. Opinions. They're all opinions.
That these are opinions, based in whatever quote unquote research or reading. I should say reading. I'm not going to use the technical word.
Or life experience.
Yeah, reading, life experience, understanding, awareness, whatever that we have on certain topics. I do want to preface it by saying, like, subscribe, share, follow. We are everywhere. Drop comments as you see fit. Definitely been getting some interesting ones as of late. And I do want to remind people, always keep in mind, no matter what you see on TikTok or Instagram or any sort of social media, it has been edited. I'm beginning to get super frustrated when people comment on the clips on our TikTok. I love the interaction and the engagement, but when they've clearly not watched the full episode or even gone in and tried to see maybe the 60 seconds that came before, or the 60 seconds that came after, and then get this entire perspective or perception of what's being said, and it couldn't be farther from the truth, and you're just like, there's a whole 2-hour conversation that goes with this 30-second statement. So just be careful. You even sent me something, it was a conservative Lynn or something like that, I think, on TikTok, and she's watching a video up in the corner, and she's it's like a reaction video.
Oh yeah, the one that she made about me.
What?
The one that the girl made about me.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, some girl stitched me and.
Did she really?
Ream me, yeah, some friggin' 20-year-old girl.
I can't wait to see that. No, I'm talking about one of the headlines that you sent me. You sent me a clip, we send each other throughout the week just so people have a little bit of an idea. Just interesting takes on things that we see on different social media, or headlines that blow our minds, or headlines that actually confirm something we've discussed here in the Man Cave. One of them that you sent me was from a woman, I think her name is Conservative Lynn, and she had another video playing up in the corner, and it featured Jill Biden and teachers, and it was a lot to do with the education system and what different states are trying to push through school boards and things like that. But you could tell that it was obviously tailored to a very specific audience. And just in watching it, it's a little bit frustrating because while I understand that there are problems within our public school system, obviously, and across the board as far as education and curriculum go and what we should and quote unquote shouldn't be teaching, just watching it was like, this is so egregious. It's so obviously skewed in one direction, and it's skewed to, again, we use the word a lot, inflame, outrage, incite. I don't want to say divide, but you could literally see the narrative, being spun. You could see the master at the keyboard, editing and fixing things. So it was just a little tough for me to swallow. But ironically enough, you want to talk about education and the school system today. Again.
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay. All right. Now I know.
It's that whole fuck your feelings thing.
Yeah.
Which you know me. Did you ever think I wasn't that?
No, but it's funny because the beauty of fuck your feelings is fuck your feelings until your feelings fuck with my feelings. And that's where the frustration, I think, comes from for a lot of people. It's kind of like one of those situations where it's like you want to run around saying fuck your feelings, but as soon as I'm doing something that bothers you, you're outraged. And that to me is like, no. It's either got to be fuck your feelings across the board, or we're all going to stand in our angry place and just yell at each other, right? Like, you don't get to have fuck your feelings when it only pertains to you not agreeing with them. Them not agreeing with
No, that's
you.
fine with me.
No, but that was, I think, was part of, like, the point, and we're going back to last week's episode. I highly recommend watching it. If you'd like, you can.
It was actually a very good episode.
It was incredible. I was wondering when the clips were going to start coming with the really good stuff, and they started this week. So I was like, here they are. But no, I mean, big shout out to Harley, and obviously to Joanna too. I mean, just two incredible guests we've had the past couple of weeks. But go back to Fuck Your Feelings and explain what your take on Fuck Your Feelings is.
I go back to, society today is very much about how you feel about things, not about actual. It's funny because of the whole Tate thing and all the stuff that's going on. I'm trying to figure out a good way to say this because it's really just fuck your feelings.
Well,
okay, if it doesn't hurt you, if it's
not
physically damaging you, you have to just let it bounce off you. Okay, and I get it, but the emotional status of our young people in this country is so fucking fragile that we're in trouble.
But Len,
we're in trouble.
But what makes me get my little air question mark over my head is those kids are being raised by people like you. So where's the disconnect?
I don't know. Listen,
generation.
My kids, and I can speak for them because they're my kids. I raised them. Yeah. Are they emotional? Yeah. They are what they are, but they know the difference between words and getting hit in the face.
Okay, so then whose kids are you talking about?
Kids in general. If you look at everything that's going on, it's,
Some of them are pretty badass, though.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, they're out there fighting. I just don't, I guess part of my question is, it's just the movement of the moment, right? It's the space that we're in. So kids in the 50s and 60s, right? Like they had an idea of what they were fighting for. I'm just going to use civil rights, right? Like the civil rights movement. You had kids out there that were not okay with the fuck your feelings of the 50s and 60s. The fuck your feelings of the 50s and 60s were, listen, separate but equal, bitches. And if you don't like it, fuck your feelings.
Those weren't feelings. Those were prohibitions on people's lives. That's not feelings.
Well, but
that's not feelings.
Yeah, but some of the things that you take issue with are in 2022 turning into prohibitions on people's lives. Like when we talk about certain medical treatments, when we talk about women's rights to body autonomy, when we talk about, mental health issues and bringing it to the forefront, certain conversations, like when we talk about depression and anxiety and some of these things being very real issues, and then you have a generation of people that are like dust yourself off and get the fuck up, like quit bitching, like, and all of this shit, like it's kind of like you're coming from a toxic place and you're projecting that onto people who are technically, I want to say, doing better. I feel like it's an evolution, right? Like you have to go through discomfort in order to grow and evolve, whether that's as an individual, as a community, as a society, as a nation. And when has this country ever known real peace?
Do you think this country will be a country with real peace? Do you think that any other country in this world would let us sit here and have real peace? I mean, what is real peace, Kimmy? Are you talking about like a euphoria that you live in?
That's my point.
That's unrealistic.
But that's my point.
The world is a bad place.
I get that, like,
and it's not changing.
But okay, so but when do you stop fighting for what you believe is right? Like, that is what this country is literally built on. It was a nation built by people who said, you know what, King George, fuck your feelings.
Yep.
And these are our feelings. We don't want to be fucking taxed without representation. Take your fucking tea. We're going to throw it in the harbor. And that's
meanwhile, we're being taxed without representation.
Well, I mean,
but,
hey,
look,
comes full circle.
Look what happened.
But the point is, this is a country that is founded on, the principle of fighting for what you believe in, right? I mean,
yeah,
to some degree.
But
and we've always, I feel
fighting
like,
for what you believe in and influencing things. First of all, the fights that we're having right now are, I don't want to say insignificant,
They're definitely not.
But they sort of are.
They're not.
They're insignificant to what is really going on around
they're
us.
Insignificant to what though? To the the economy. They're insignificant to you and your business operations. Like we are talking about people's lives.
Of course we are. Of course we are.
And the quality of that life.
But the to the lengths that people are taking this fight, it's like if you took half the energy that these people are putting into fighting and put it, you know that if you're sitting across the couch from me and we're going to talk about a certain subject, me and you are going to go at it and we're both going to be tired at the end.
Exhausted.
Now, mind you, if I was on this side talking to a person who might not be as far off a subject as you are, I could use half the energy and move that person in a direction. The problem is it goes back to there's no middle. And nobody on the outside is looking for the person in the middle. The person who's on the outside is looking for...
I'm not an extremist. And I love that you say, I'm so far off on a subject. I literally can come in here as a rational person, though. But it makes me laugh because you feel like you're a centrist, and I look at you like, why is this difficult? I can't understand why sometimes your brain just can't take a step back and process what's being said to you. It's just evolution. It's growth. The fact that you continue to go back to, well, it's always been this way. Yeah, but just because it's always been doesn't make it right. I hate that argument. It's such a fucking cop-out. It's such a pussy-ass excuse for bullshit. It's, okay, so it's always been that way, but, okay, so before this country was here, it belonged to the Native Americans, right? And then we came, well, it wasn't ours before that, so then we made it ours. You change things that you want to change. And right now, people are fighting to change the things that they want to change. They want a better quality of life. They want human rights. They want true equality. I had somebody comment on something we were talking about. The LGBTQ community has all the same rights as other people. And I was like, my man, actually, no, they don't. And that's what they're fighting for. In the state of Florida, you can literally be fired because you're gay. You can be denied housing because you're gay. Yes, it's a right to work state. You can be fired for your sexuality. Facts.
The right to work state was so that the unions couldn't take hold. You do know that. It wasn't discriminatory
against. What does that
against.
have to do with
But I'm just saying.
But it's been now used to the benefit of other people to do exactly that. So, I mean, I don't care why it was put in place.
Yeah. These are things that probably should be, gay marriage. There's nothing wrong with it. It's no, I'm just saying. I mean, it should be legal.
Yeah.
All of these things should be legal. But again,
what they're using though? They're using your excuse as a right to come for it. Because it hasn't always been that way. That's why I hate that argument, because literally you have a Supreme Court right now that is ready to roll back a whole lot of things because they haven't always been like this. You know what I mean? It was different before. And again,
that was the whole thing that Bill Maher was talking about, the presentism that they're putting on, that people are, if people weren't running around saying that everything that happened in this country 200 years ago, we should be responsible for today.
I don't know what you mean by responsible. To me, I look at it as but responsible in what way? What are you talking about? Are you talking about slavery?
I'm talking about whatever people are blaming on the people of today that happened 200 years ago.
But are they really blaming it? I feel like that's one of those things that people want to take that on. They want to feel attacked. They want to feel like somebody's coming for them. And I don't know that that's what it is. We're just trying to tell history a little more accurately or maybe with a little less one-sided bias.
But is it one-sided to say, okay, yeah, the white man came to the United States and annihilated the Indians and took all their land?
Did they?
Of course, that's what happened. Okay. So, okay, I mean, the Spanish went to South America and wiped out the entire Mayan population. Mm-hmm. So this is what was going on at that time.
The Spanish was white man, though, right? You realize that? The Spaniards
really? Because when you go to a school in Texas, they announce the Spanish people as being Spanish. They don't announce them as being white. Well, no, they announce them as being Spanish.
First of all, let me explain something to you, though. In any Latino or Hispanic, Hispanic runs the gamut. They're not really a race. They're a group of people. And the Spaniards are white. Spaniards from
It
Spain
doesn't matter.
are considered
It
white.
doesn't matter. There's been plenty of
So
black.
no, you
there's
tried to
been,
say you tried to say the Spanish. That was white Europeans went to South America and annihilated the Mayans. Like that's what that was. But you're trying to say, oh, the Spanish. No.
Yes,
That's different
because-
than the native Taino population or the Mayans or the Aztecs or the folks who were from Mexico, like really, or the Caribbean people that were actually on those islands before we started bringing ourselves and other people from Africa. Like, yeah. I mean, they were of other ethnicities.
But that's the way the world has always worked. That's the way. That's the way the world has always.
Facts.
That's what's led us all the way to here. Is a conquering nation comes in and takes what they want because they're the baddest people in the fucking world right now. So we're gonna take whatever we want, and that's it.
Yep.
That's the way it's always been.
Okay, but we're no longer in that place. We're not a colony anymore. We're a
Really? Because
nation of people.
what's going on right now in the Ukraine? It's the same thing. Nothing has changed.
We're talking about America. We're talking about American history. We're talking about America. Now you want to talk about the Russians invading
No,
Ukraine?
I'm
That's
just-
a whole very different
I'm
conversation.
just
yes,
saying this is what has happened. Yes.
but you
slavery
realize that we're fighting,
was
but
bad.
You realize though now at this point we're fighting a war against that because we don't necessarily agree that other nations should be conquering nations that are already, considering themselves nations. Like you want to go back 1,000 years when things were just lumped off lines and hey, this is Normandy and hey, this is Germania and this is this is the Ottoman Empire and we're just gonna roll through with our elephants and our fucking lions and shit and like I get that. But at this point now we have governments, we have, we are quote unquote civilized. So when you invade somebody, you are literally it's no longer you're the baddest on the planet. Like we saw this shit in World War II and the world was like, no, we're not really here for this. Like, absolutely not. You have Germany, stay there. It took us a minute to get involved. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know that in 2022, countries should be aspiring to colonize. Like, so now it's time to go, okay, like, let's do better.
This just goes to, I mean, it's sort of your argument about, oh, it's always been this way. Yes, there is an evolution going on. But the world is still a bad place, and people are still going to push back against all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I've talked about this before. Small people with big voices are moving stuff, and this argument that we're having on our couch is.
But you clearly want to move people in your direction, and that makes me nervous because, like I said, I feel like sometimes I'm losing you to the dark side. You specifically said if I had somebody here who wasn't so off topic as you are, or off subject, or far off. Like, I could maybe persuade them to what?
We've had subjects that me and you clearly are going to battle over.
Yeah.
But that's
but
we're
you're
clearly on
basically saying,
sides.
but that you think you could sway somebody to your side. So even you are coming into this trying to get people to see things your way, as opposed to just really being open to the conversation and walking away with a better understanding of where they're coming from. Because that's
I mean,
more than
it's really what you're trying to do rather than sway them to your way is trying to get them to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, Len, I understand perfectly. Trust me. Even when we go, 10 fingers, 10 toes down.
Yeah, but you think I'm coming from some place of what? Bigotry and hatred and
no, because
I mean, I
you're not you don't like the change though. You really you're not really here for evolution.
I don't like my youth of America, the kids of America. I don't like them not being parented by their parents. Okay?
First of all, let's be very clear here. Like, you have no control over that. And as much as you would love to believe that every family in America is like yours with a mom and a dad and
I know there's a lot of it. I grew up in a split family.
Way more single parent households than there is a family
I grew up
nucleus.
in one.
And guess what? That is not to blame on anybody else but the parents.
Yeah.
You can't blame the school system on that. You can't blame the government on that. You can't blame it on fucking,
No, but you can
No, but that's what people are trying to do, though. Like, that narrative out here.
I have 3 kids. I can tell you right now, my kids, have threatened everything you could fucking imagine they've ever thought of. They've threatened me with it. Okay, I'm gonna call human services on you. I'm gonna tell them you're doing this. For what? Because I turned your fucking game off? Okay? That is the problem, Kimmy, is when you take a school system and you empower teachers to speak to students and not be responsible to tell the parents what that student says, okay? You're empowering a fucking 8-year-old to say whatever the fuck they want.
Okay.
And get away with it.
Can I rewind before we get into this? Because I know this is really the heart of the conversation, but something just was triggered in my brain. Len, so you were raised in a split family, right?
Yep.
And you're a parent of 3 children.
Yep.
Was there anything in particular when you started parenting that you said to yourself, I want to do this better than my parents did? Like any particular aspect or area of parenting where you were like, you know what? As much as I love my parents and I turned out great, there's some things I'm going to do different.
You know, I think every parent aspires to give the next generation more than they had. Did I actively say to myself, oh, I'm going to do this differently? No. I mean, did I know that I was going to be there for my kids more than my dad was there for me? Yeah, I knew that.
Okay, so that's something that you actively wanted to do different.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I have my own parenting style. You know,
But Lenny, that comes from a place of, part of that is I grew up this way and this is how it felt. I think you sometimes, and I love you to death, I think you have a very hard time sometimes like analyzing where your own shit comes from. Like, or just admitting like, you know what, maybe there's a point to this. Or maybe I like you're honest about your dad, but like your dad was not, like from what I got.
No, he wasn't really there.
At all. So just say, like, you are
That's
such
what I
a
just
fucking
said.
present dad. No, but you said not really.
No, but you say like
yes.
did I consciously think about that before I had kids? No, I didn't.
You had kids, but as soon as you had them, you made a conscious effort. You are the most present dad on the planet. You have a slated dinner with one of your sons every single Friday that you do not miss. You literally pick your kids up from school every damn day.
Every day that I can. Now they have cars, so it's
even if they don't want you to in your ManTFup truck.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. But no, like, you're a great dad.
I get it, but that's more reason that I don't want my kids to have power until they know what's going on in their life. My daughter got in trouble and we threatened to take her phone away, and it was the end of the fucking world. So, you know, a 16-year-old girl cannot make rational decisions.
Stop. Can't say that.
In certain certain situations.
That just sounds
It's
crazy.
not It's not rational. The
Just
things.
say a 16-year-old. Don't say a 16-year-old girl.
I'm referring to my daughter.
As your son. What is Joey?
No, my 14-year-old son can't make a decision either.
I was gonna say. So
it's not just girls.
So specify kids.
Oh, excuse me.
Said that. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Because I'm sure your son is
boys and girls.
I'm sure you
They're both.
They, at a television.
They don't. They don't. I was talking specifically
but what I'm saying
about
is
my daughter.
That's going to get cut into it. No, but you said
I don't
16-year-old girl cannot.
Yes, because my daughter is a 16-year-old girl.
Len, like that's just stick to your normal narrative, which is kids can't make up their own fucking minds.
No, they just don't realize what is important and when it's important.
At 16? You were pretty grown at 16.
Everything I could.
I get that. So that's my point. So why are your kids so different than you were? I don't understand this.
No, my kids are more sheltered than I was. That's guaranteed.
Okay, so that's another thing that you did differently. They're not out here ripping and running on Miami Beach at 16.
No. I bought Joey a motorcycle. And my buddy's like, hey, did you ride it out of the neighborhood yet? He's like, no, I'm not riding it out of the neighborhood. I'm like, Joey, you know, my friends are encouraging him to get on his motorcycle. Why don't you ride out to the dump? Ride out to the... He's like, no. And I mean, when I was 16, when I was 5, I would sneak my motorcycle out and be gone. Gone. You couldn't find me. I'd be home at sundown. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have a problem with him doing it, but he just doesn't want to do it. I have good kids. I don't know, but the bottom line is it's not even about the kids. It's about taking, maybe if the teachers were more involved with the parents, they might be able to.
Though.
But if the parent's willing to take responsibility for a 10-year-old kid, they should be willing to take responsibility for their 17-year-old mother.
So let me ask you this question. Well, no, and the reason why I brought up you and your childhood versus how you parent your children is one of those situations where it's kind of, I think, why
I was the worst kid in the neighborhood, by the way.
But I'm going to call Children and Family Services. All of that, you hear there's a lot of conversation now about breaking toxic cycles, right? That's where we've had the conversation about, how to discipline children properly. Like, do you lay hands on them? And there's, people who are like, I'm going to discipline my kids the way I want to, and you have nothing to say about that. And there's the other ones that are like, oh my God, you're a horrible human being, right? Like, so there's people that are kind of just trying to quote unquote do it better than it was done with them. And that doesn't mean that you don't respect how your parents raised you, but again, it's evolution.
That again comes from a very personal experience. That you'll have a family of 4 kids, and one of the kids might feel like an outcast, might feel like they didn't get the same love that their brothers did, or whatever. That person is now the person going, oh, don't spank your kids, don't spank your kids, don't spank your kids, and telling me I can't spank my kids. Why? Why can I not spank my kids? Because your dad spanked you and you felt some way about it when you were 5, and now no one in the world can get spanked again?
How would you feel, though, if your kids down the line came back and were like, that was the moment when I disconnected from you? Like, have you spanked your kids?
Shit happens. Yeah, every one of them's had my hand across their ass.
Okay, how many times?
A few. It only took a few.
Okay, but that's right. I mean, and that I think is usually the point.
Listen, I have rules on my spanking too. I never would spank them out when I'm angry. I won't go off the handle when I'm angry. Although I did check Joey into the pool a couple months ago because he did something stupid.
For the record, his son is also extremely athletic, very gifted. It's not like he's some little tiny
No.
He could take a good little body. He could take a good little body check.
Yes, he got launched.
But no,
when my kids were little, is when I spanked them. When they were 3 years old, I spanked their tush, And to a 3-year-old, if you go like this, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And you know what? All I have to do is look at them now, and it's over. It's like I think kids should have a healthy fear of their parents. It's you're not their friends, Kimmy. You're the person that's guiding them in their life, and you're going to have to make tough decisions that your kid is going to cry over and fight over and everything else. But you have to just know that it's in their best interest. Yeah.
I mean, and I don't, like I said, and I definitely.
If one of my kids went to their teacher and told them something detrimental or something that was life-changing in their life, and that teacher did not tell me, I would lose my shit.
Yeah. But you need to be very clear, because this has to do with specific issues. It's not just carte blanche across the board. Like, it's specifically having to do with sexuality.
You say that, except, remember, I don't know, was it second or third episode when you said no one wants your guns? They're not coming for your guns?
That was the first episode when I said, I'm not coming for your guns. Nobody wants your guns.
Nobody wants your guns. So that was, they passed some legislation way back a couple years ago about guns. There's a new one on the thing, okay, that is banning all assault weapons. Yeah. They're bulking all assault weapons into anything that has a clip that holds more than 15 things, 15 bullets, 15 rounds. And that is the migration. Okay, that is the migration. So today it's about this. Tomorrow it's about this. At the end of the road, it's now you have no say in your kids' education.
You realize, though, that the circle that you're talking in, right, the same way you're upset about teachers not telling parents things, it's the exact opposite in the state of Florida, right? And we're seeing the other side of it. So it's like you can't have, it both ways. And that to me is a problem. Like, you're the same person who says you want teachers to be able to discipline students. Yeah. But then you don't want them to be able to make an educated decision about your child. So it's like, so what do you really want? Where do you draw the boundaries? If you're willing to give a teacher the authority over your child to put hands on them, right? And by hands, I'm not talking about, obviously, a fucking left hook.
How about the nun smacks your hand with a ruler? How about that?
Well, I mean, Yeah, if you go to a Catholic school, sure, it can be a nun, but
you know,
otherwise it's going to be a
whatever.
teacher. And I don't know that she's going to whap you with a ruler.
Whatever.
You know, maybe she makes you hold some books. I don't
I
know.
mean, they're not going to throw you a beating.
I get it, Len. But the point is, like, you're basically talking out of both sides of your face when you say, I want you to be able to discipline my child. My kid should have my kid should have the utmost respect for their teachers. Kids don't respect authority anymore. And then on the very, next breath, you're like, you don't have, you have no fucking authority in my kid's life. How dare you think that you should be the one that they should come to as a confidant? Like
That's not what I said.
What role?
I
do you want them to
said
play?
that they have to share it with the parents.
But what if that child comes to them literally in confidence?
And what
Because
if
they
that
can't
child
say
is
it's
making
you?
it up because they're a fucking child?
But what?
Children make
So-
shit up.
Okay,
Okay?
so they make up what? That
If
they're
I
gay?
took fucking Joey's video game away when he was 8 years old,
give me an
he might go to school and say, "My dad beat me."
Okay, and then
Don't
what?
tell him.
But can I tell you something though? They're not allowed to report. Like, that's part of just the social welfare system. You can't report that. If a parent is being accused, it's a teacher's responsibility to notify the proper authorities, because there have been too
Which
many
is fine.
instances where
Then
kids are,
we'll know.
what?
Then we'll know.
Yeah,
It's
because
still
the
coming
proper
back. But
authority-
if my child went to a teacher and said, I'm depressed, I feel like, I feel like I want to kill myself and I can't talk to my parents, they need to tell the parents. They need to tell the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel that?
I think in that particular situation, 1,000%, unless there's mitigating circumstances to it, and that has to do with sexuality.
But who makes the mitigating circumstances?
But that's the problem, Len, because
Who makes the
again,
mitigating circumstances?
It's really it's funny because you're putting this very wide veil over this conversation when it's a very specific instance that you're bringing up and you just don't want to address it. It's wherever it is.
It's not that I don't want to address it, Kimmy. It's that it
no, but
starts.
it's based on sexuality, and it's funny because the same people, it's people like you that are pushing for these conversations, for things like this, and it makes me laugh because I'm like, which side of the fence do you really want to be on with this? Because the reason why this is coming up is because of the folks who are so anti-sexuality, race, gender being taught in schools, that now on the other side of the argument, you have school districts that are trying to protect teachers and their students. So in Florida, we went the complete opposite way and we protected the parents, right? Like, that's what we did. And we made it a place where schools are no longer safe for kids who are being abused. They're no longer safe for kids.
Well, I tell you, that's only public schools. Private schools are
That
still
is what
very...
this country is built on, though. Like, fuck
I get
you and
it.
your
I
private
get
fucking
it.
schools. Like,
I
I
get
understand
it.
that you have money and you can put your kids, but that's not majority of Americans.
I get it.
So at the end of the day, let's refocus our fucking attention and make sure that our public schools are the best fucking schools on the planet. That's a whole other conversation and fight that we can have, because I also think that the kookies are trying to dismantle the public school system so that they can really push their narrative when everybody's got to go to a private fucking school and they can completely control the curriculum.
Because
so it's both sides of the same fucking argument.
The cookies kind of feel that the government's trying to take over the students in the public school
How
system.
though? How?
What do you mean how?
We have standardized tests. They're not even allowed to teach them anything. Like, the fuck are you talking about? What are they doing? What is this narrative? They're mad about what's being taught. It's just so funny to me because they get that narrative from the colleges, which are really
private.
a privilege. You know what I mean? Like, how many? I mean, I get that now we've quote unquote made it accessible to the masses. Whatever. If you can incur that much student debt, even to go to a state school, cool. But that's where the quote unquote indoctrination is happening, right? But now we've somehow managed to trickle it down where we have called into question the motives and the means by which we are educating our kindergarteners, our middle schoolers, our high schoolers. And it's just weird to me because it's like, yes, our education system has been flailing and failing, but not because of the things that people are now pointing out, right? Like, we have just not been cutting it when it comes to mathematics, when it comes to science, when it comes to technology, like when it comes to STEM, we have not been properly educating our kids. When it comes to history, we're not really teaching accurate. We've had this conversation, accurate history, and I loved when we did a whole episode on that. And some of the comments were like, "I learned that," but then other people were like, "Oh, word, really?" It was just such a great example of, well, where'd you go to school? Like, great if you are learning these things, right? Because that's fantastic, but not everybody in the comments said, oh, hey, I learned that these people are crazy. So clearly we
Yeah.
had a point to what we were saying.
Yeah. The curriculum from when I went to school and from when you went to school and to what's being taught in elementary school today is totally and what are you going to say? What I was being taught or you was being taught wasn't correct and wasn't, the way we learned history in school when we were kids wasn't correct. I mean, what our baseline on history is, we learned in elementary school.
Mm-hmm. But you've also continued to, because it's but because history is a subject that intrigues you and interests you, you have continued to pursue.
But I knew,
knowledge.
I knew who the president of the the first president of the United States was. I knew who, this stuff's
But I get that.
barely being taught in school today.
Yeah, but I also think that there's so much more to who the first president of the United States was, right? And that's the beauty of
college
education. But even high school. Like, I mean, if you're in AP history, you're learning, the truth about Thomas Jefferson. You're learning about the founding fathers, and not everything about them is great. But to me, I still think I'm not trying to take them off of dollar bills. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to pull down the monuments in Washington. I'm not at that place. You know what I'm saying? And that, again, is because I'm not sitting here trying to make people from 200 or 300, like I can wrap my mind, whether I agree with it or not, around the fact that things were different 300 years ago, 400 years ago. I'm of Greek descent. Do I think everything the Greeks did is great? No. The Italian, the Roman Empire was pretty savage when it wanted to be. The Turks, the Ottomans, we know this. And if you go back even to the continent of Africa, right? If you really get into African history, it's beautiful, but it's brutal and it's savage. The continent before the colonizers got there, right? I mean, it is what it's massive. And there were so many different tribes and different communities and different systems at play. So again, there's so many histories to learn. And I think the more you learn about history, that's the beauty of it. I think the better understanding you have, it's like when people comment on, the status of the LGBTQIA plus community today, right? Young kids, you and I have had this conversation. I get frustrated when I hear with cancel culture, because it's kind of, like you run the risk of forgetting how far you've come or forgetting where you can backslide to, right? Like if you stop talking about the Holocaust and nobody knows that it ever happened, it's much easier for fascism to rear its ugly head again in another 50 or 100 years, right? If you stop talking about the horrors and atrocities that happened on this planet to people, like it's much easier for people to fall down the rabbit hole of that quote unquote, that utopian place, right? Like, oh, nothing bad ever happened if we don't teach. And that's the beauty of history. It's not pretty. Good, bad, and ugly. It just all needs to be taught. And there's different perspectives because history is not, unfortunately, all facts.
So how do we expect kids that...
It's perspectives. Hold on one second. We're going to go back to this. Please hold on to your thoughts. I want to clarify before somebody's like, that's exactly what history is. Actually, it is not. History is a recounting of events as seen, heard, and written down by individuals. Anything that is left in the hands of man, woman, no matter what color it is going to be somewhat biased based on that person's personal experience, right? So everything that's ever been recorded, because people are inherently biased. There are very few individuals on the planet that can give you a very straight, just a 100, math is like the only thing that's really like numbers, right? There's no kind of questioning what's happening there. But
there's questions on all theories.
Well, so there you go. So, I mean, so nothing is 100% fact, right? That's why, in my opinion, it's so important that we get multiple perspectives on the same event, right? Because the recounting of World War II is going to be different from somebody serving in the Third Reich, right? Versus an American soldier from the Midwest who's deployed to, the South Pacific versus an American soldier who was, at the Normandy, the landing.
D-Day.
D-Day. But it was Normandy.
Yeah.
Right? They stormed the beach in Normandy.
Yeah. One of the beaches.
But, and that's why you need all of that. Like, I want to hear from Hitler's council. Where are those papers at? I want to read what was happening in those rooms. I want to know what the thought process was, what those conversations was like. The same way I want to know what our generals were saying and what our troops on the ground were saying and feeling in the love letters that they were writing or the journals that they were keeping when they were in the foxholes in the trenches. Like, that's how you get a proper accounting and what it was like being, you know, the French business owner in Paris when it was occupied by the Germans.
Yeah, but is that a person? I mean, there's history, and that's a personal accounting of like a soldier's take on history. It's not really.
What else do we know about it?
Well,
aside from the soldier's
you know what battles that soldier was in and what he felt was going on at that moment, which
that's the point, Len.
Versus why the war started, what happened, you know, when Germany invaded Poland, you know, what those things, you can take it down to a finite level.
Get it, but even people will tell you, like, there will be different accounts of why Hitler did what Hitler did.
Yeah,
like, and
of course. But those are
talk
opinions.
about the Holocaust. You can't talk about the Holocaust. Okay, but you're talking about a date and a time. Everything else, and guess what? We're taught a lot more than dates and times in history.
Well, we're taught
a lot more. We're taught that we were right and they attacked Pearl Harbor, but then there's the reason why did the Japanese attack and was our response with the A-bomb and all of that. And we've learned as years have gone on that the minute they dropped that bitch, they were like, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that. Like, literally, we've heard that from all the scientists on the ground. Like, whoops.
Well, all the scientists, Oppenheimer, all the scientists, you know, were regretting unleashing the nuclear power. But not the people who dropped the bomb. They don't, you know, the military didn't regret.
You don't think anybody in the military regretted it?
The scientists regretted it.
You don't think anybody in the military regretted
it? No, because that was an ends to a means without invading Japan.
There's nothing wrong with having regret. It's the same thing, like, you know, when you talk about, it's okay to say, it's regretful how we handled Japanese Americans in this country at that period of time.
Yeah, that's absolute.
So you understand. But again, if you don't, you just telling me this is what they, like, we had Japanese internment camps, but that's cool. But okay, don't tell me what that experience was like unless you were in there. And if you were in there and you're a guard, your experience is different than the actual experience of a Japanese American that was interned, that had their shit stolen. And all I'm saying is, as we progress through history, there are nuances that should be available and should be taught. And that's the beauty of it, because that's the only way you can ever really understand where some of the underlying friction and frustration comes from in this country amongst different groups of people. It's the same thing when when you talk about the history of the rebel flag, right? And you talk about, you know, Southern pride and the antebellum South and all of these things. And it's like, you know, what those people that are staunch believers in that, you know, and that the South will rise again, what they're taught and what those conversations are like in their household is clearly very different than what somebody from, you know, New York or Boston is probably taught when we learn about the Civil War and when we learn about the, you know, the actions of the South and, you know, secession, you know, whether it was Texas trying to secede from the Union or the South in general trying to secede, you know. So again, I just want more of it, because no matter what, yes, you have dates and times. But again, those are written down by a person, right? That's a factual recounting by a person. Whether you do it in business meetings, you take minutes. I'm sure there's somebody who does it in this office every time you guys have a meeting.
Yeah, a perfect example of what you just said. And why it can be difficult, because a lot of times people will just take what they hear in one place and run with it like that's the narrative. We were talking about that today because White Boy's girlfriend was like, you know, she hears this thing and he's like, where'd you hear that? And she's like, oh, on TikTok. And it's like, really? Did you research it? Did you get two other sources that might corroborate what you heard? You know, the sky is falling. Oh, who said that? Was it a guy with a tin hat? Did you see other people with tin hats saying the same thing? You know, it's like, so I get what you're saying, and I totally believe in history, and all of it should be there. But when you come out and say, well, you know, they dropped the bomb and they immediately regretted it. But I'm just saying that's what someone's going to hear, Kimmy. That's what someone's going to hear. So that's not really the case. There was regret in unleashing the nuclear power because they knew they could never take it back. Once they it's like letting the cat out of the bag. It's done. But by the same token, it was done to save lives, because it was done to save American lives, because they figured if after going through all those islands in the South Pacific and all the American soldiers that died in those little islands like Iwo Jima and Midway and all, so they determined that if they had to put boots on the ground in Japanese mainland, we were going to lose hundreds of thousands of soldiers.
They were also teaming up with the Chinese at the time.
You know what I'm saying? They were going to lose, though. So we killed 80,000 people in Nagasaki and Hiroshima,
with
right?
Much wider repercussions and ramifications.
Whatever the case may be, it was done for a purpose at the time to save lives. So yes, do we regret it? Yeah, I wish it was the Garden of Eden,
well, the war was
but that's
kind of
not real.
won at that point in time too. Like it was pretty.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody was surrendering.
But we were fucking up their fleet at that point in time. We'd kind of gotten the South Pacific back under control. But I get it. Again, at the end of the day, World War II played out, but teach it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
that's
nothing
fine.
wrong at this point. There's nothing wrong with admitting that the scientists were like, okay.
No, absolutely.
And we don't ever want to do this again.
And first of all, that wasn't a recent admission. That was said that's been out forever. But that has to go along with the reason that it was decided to drop.
But you understand, though, but then you also have people who want to, that still to this day will stand very firm in their
I just heard something the
their
other
racial
day that somebody I heard somebody the other day that said that they weren't even sure the Holocaust happened.
Holocaust deniers.
Yeah, I mean, there's flat earthers. There's a lot of people out there.
I get it, but there are people who would like to, but again, to your point, would like to remove any sort of sentiment like that from history, right? Like anything that could possibly, and it makes me laugh because as a parent, that idea that your kids are gonna feel guilt for being white, and it's like, is it guilt or is it empathy? Like, do you want to raise sociopaths? I don't understand, because there's nothing wrong with reading something about slavery and going, that was fucked up. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
If you have kids that are well-adjusted and don't, they live in a neighborhood with a black family, a Latin family, a Chinese family, and they grew up with that, okay? How are those well-adjusted kids, which I'm sure there's some of them in this country, there's some white kids in this country that don't see race or color or anything else. They're just normal kids.
But you do know the argument.
How? So what you're doing is you're trying to make them feel the way you say everyone else felt by excluding a normal white kid.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about teaching history. Like,
I was talking about the exclusion.
You're talking about the weirdo principal who acknowledged the Asian American Pacific Islanders and acknowledged the Latinos and acknowledged.
But it's history. It's still.
No, I mean, that's different. That's I don't know what he was doing at RS whatever. That just sounded
just
like
high school,
an odd recount. I'm talking about when we're teaching history and them not wanting kids, like they don't want to teach about race in this country at all. Like that is what. There's a very large movement when it comes to, again, our public school system and that narrative that you're kind of justifying this. The school system's trying to teach our kids. And it's like, no, they're teaching history. But guess what? There's parts of our history that are fucked up and you might feel a little bad when you hear them. Like,
But, I mean, is anybody really denying teaching that slavery happened?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. I mean, we had slavery, we had the civil
they
rights
are trying
movement.
to remove
all
any
of that
conversation
all
about
of that
race.
all of that stuff should be there. Should it be explicit to
Len, do you know
today?
what a big part Lenny,
what?
You can't teach about what's happening today without teaching about that. And yes, it still plays a role in our systems today. Like, you realize, and I can't continue to have this fight with you. I love you. But yeah, there are a lot of things that need to be taught. It's the same thing when you discuss, what happened in the immediate aftermath of the Civil War and how there were actually more people of color, men of color, because obviously women couldn't do anything, but there were more men of color in office in the late 1800s than there are in the South now. Like, that's crazy. And again, that's because unfortunately, the white power players in the South were not comfortable with black people being able to make decisions, especially not when they had so many numbers, right? Like that's what happens when you breed people for 400 years, right? And there's a lot of them. Yes, that's what happened on plantations. People were bred. Are you going to deny that?
No.
That was what was happening with slavery?
I'm just curious how long slavery lasted. Was it 400 years?
Well, considering we have...
We have what?
People would consider what's happening in our prison system. You know that's still legalized slavery, right? It's literally written into the 13th Amendment. Like slavery is illegal.
This country is fucked up across the fucking board.
No, but
okay?
but do you realize that is how they were able to continue to enslave black and brown people? Like through the prison industrial complex. Literally, there is in the 13th Amendment, which abolishes slavery, there is an addendum to that says except when a person has basically been committed of a crime, at which point they can be forced into servitude. So now you have the prison industrial complex. So when the 13th Amendment happened, all of a sudden that was when little black boys and black men started being arrested in the South for loitering and things of that nature. And if you can lock them up, what were they doing in the South? They were on chain gangs, working in the fields. They were the people laying asphalt in the streets. So that still continues today. It's why we now have the largest prison population on the planet. And it just continues to expand exponentially. It's why when you start to look at, different legislation in different states that targets communities of color in particular, or poor people, we'll go back to socioeconomics, that just don't really have a say. It's like,
But I mean, is the prison complex of today still producing?
Yes. Victoria's
as
Secret,
much?
Express. You know how many of our major retailers were actually outsourcing to prisons their labor force?
It's privatized.
They're making 13 cents an hour. And they're producing wardrobes. Like, I'm talking about the guy Epstein's boy. That was the whole, Lerner, I think was his name or whatever. But yeah, they found he was tied into the prison. We've lost judges in different states because we found out that they were investing in prisons.
Selling, of course.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that literally there are groups out there that sell mattresses to prisons, bedding to everything in a prison is outsourced, is privatized, to your point. So people are eating off of and people are eating off of all of it. So if you own the company that provides the beds, the physical mattresses, you obviously stand to make more money the more bodies are in these prisons.
Yeah. See, these are the conversations they don't want people to have.
Yeah.
That's why they throw the inflammatory stuff.
But I mean, but the inflammatory stuff plays a role in this conversation. Do you know what I mean? And then you have a large population that doesn't want to understand why folks are outraged about certain things. And it's because, we never really moved past the 17 and 1800s in this country. And that's unfortunate. And we're seeing
I don't believe that.
We're seeing it play out. I mean, you still have all kinds of problems in this country. You have all kinds of beliefs. You have 1,000 different religions. But you do know, even when we talk about police, and for the record, love our men and women in blue. Facts. That's factual. Huge supporter. Definitely, when I call 911, I want them to show up. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful that when they put that uniform on and they do their job and they vow to protect and serve. But they're literally slave catchers. That's where the police, in the institution of police, came from in this country. They were slave patrols. Okay. So I'm just saying, so again, when we talk about institutional racism and where people come from, and it's particularly in the South, when that is ingrained in the culture and in the DNA of what an organization is, right? It's difficult when you don't address it. You know how many people would look at me and go, that's a fucking, no, it's not. It's actually very factual. And that's history that isn't really
factual till when?
Taught. What do you mean?
Till when? Till you.
No. It's factual that the first police officers in this nation were slave patrols.
Okay, the first police officers in the nation. That was 200 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be clear. That was 200 years ago.
Yeah, but that was clear when I said the first police officers in this nation were slave patrols. No, that was pretty
But
clear.
You said when people are ingrained in this, yes, they grew up in this. Yeah, the South is.
No, but that's just DNA. That's just the DNA. When this is I'm trying to tell you, when people that are out here fighting for social justice reform, and when people are talking about institutional racism or systemic racism, that's the stuff that they're talking about. They're not necessarily blaming the people today. We're just talking about when something is that much a part of the ideology.
Let me ask you this: what if there's
you
people?
Can't deny it.
What are the people in this country that are the farthest from buying into systemic racism, not believing in, that believe in equality for all? What do those people feel? How do those people feel when, everybody's pointing the finger at them going,
I don't know.
Systemic white people.
Okay, yeah.
White people.
Yeah.
What you need.
Okay, no, but so you're just talking about white people who don't believe in systemic racism, who don't.
White people who don't have any concerns about any of that, who are not bigots or racist or brought up this way. How do they people who are just fine with everybody?
You can be fine with everybody. That's cool, but you can't deny what is truthful. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? You're just, again, you're not taking a stance at that point, and that's okay. Not everybody. I mean, I would like to believe that people are innately good and just and would like to see, true equality. But if you're a person who's just like, listen, at the end of the day, I'm just walking through my life and I understand like what happened. I don't know that if you have that full information, how you cannot have a stance on it a little bit, how you cannot understand. And my whole thing is more, it's about empathy, right? Like, that's where, when we talk about the middle, when you talk about hearing people from the other side, do I think that it's wise to burn down your community? Absolutely not. Do I want to see, protesters out there going toe to toe with our military in this country? Absolutely not. Do I want to, turn on the television and watch a car roll through a group of people exercising their right to protest? No, I don't. I hate seeing our country in that place. But, when you see young people out there so frustrated, and when it was Black Lives Matter, you saw one group of people. When it was SOS Cuba here in Miami, right? We saw a whole other group of people who were very anti the Black Lives Matter people doing it, go out and do the same exact thing. And I'm talking about shutting down highways and things like that. So it's always interesting to me that people can empathize with their personal cause, right? When it's something that hits close to them. But as soon as that issue's been addressed, they can no longer put themselves in the feelings of anybody else, even if they're fighting for the same thing. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. Like, to me, keep the same energy for everybody. Like, Len, I'm going to go toe-to-toe for the LGBTQIA. I'm going to go toe-to-toe for, for my Black brothers and sisters. I'm going to go toe-to-toe for, my women fighting for their rights. Like, I'm going to go toe-to-toe for my Iranian women right now that are out there in the fight of their life, obviously. And it's ironic, we look at what's happening here, and then you literally have a 22-year-old who was killed by the morality police in Iran because her hijab was not fully covering her hair. Like, do you know how heartbreaking that is? Like, that's and here we're fighting for other issues, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, it's mind-blowing to think of how far back some other places still are. When we talk about the LGBTQIA plus, people in this country are like, they should be happy. Oh, they have all the same rights. I'm like, yeah, but they're stoned to death in other places. Like this is still not, acceptable. And while, yes, they can hold hands in some places in this country freely without the fear of any sort of repercussion, we still have work to do. So it's just, there are conversations to be had on all of these issues. I just can't understand where the empathy has gone to people. Like, every immigrant group has fought for things. Every immigrant group has fought. If you came here, it's normally because you were trying to escape something else wherever you're from. Whether it was the Irish trying to get away from famine, trying to get away from British rule, trying to get away from religious persecution. You know what I mean? The Italians, same thing, just trying to escape poverty for a better life. The war, whatever the case may be. The Greeks did the same thing. You have Venezuelans, you have Colombians, you have people from South America constantly trying to get into the country. Like, I just can't understand why people can't be more empathetic. Like, all of us came here, even if you were born here, somebody in your family came here because this was the best option.
Yeah.
Right? So why can't...
And to people around the world, it's still the best option.
It is, but it is. It's 100%. The people here that don't think it's the best option.
It's the people here that don't think it's the best option.
It is, but it is 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100% 100%. But you're also living in it, and I think that I would not want to live anywhere else. Do I think we have work to do? Yes, I most certainly do. And I think that the only way to do that work is to have the uncomfortable conversations that we have every fucking week on this couch.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that we talked about the prison industrial complex. The parenting thing though is a tough one for me. Obviously, A, I'm not a parent, but B, I really do feel like it's so double-sided, and I really do feel like the people that have this argument constantly talk out of both sides of their face. And I feel bad for teachers because we continuously single out these kind of rogue actors, right? That are doing these really crazy things. Like you had the nut job in the professor.
I don't think they're so rogue. I don't think they're not. I don't think there's not a large, a lot of teachers nowadays are millennials.
And what's with millennials? You love to just lump everybody in together, but go ahead.
Yes. I lump them in together because they have different thoughts on how they were brought up and what they teach. And, there's a lot on both sides. It depends. I guess it depends what area you're in. But, if you're in a more liberal area, you're going to have a lot of liberal teachers. If you're in a more conservative area, you're going to have a lot more conservative teachers.
What personal experience do you have with any rogue acting teachers? I mean, in South Florida, I see a lot of them sleeping with their students. That's one thing that we have a problem with.
First of all, rogue acting is, what do you consider rogue?
I
knew teachers in my high school that slept with kids, slept with girls. Mm-hmm. So that's rogue. So, everybody has a different level of rogue. Mm-hmm. Which is really the main problem.
Does anybody disagree with it being wrong for a teacher? And I know female teachers that sleep with their male students too. So that is not a male-female thing. That is across the board, and that has been happening for a very long time. And again, just because it's happened.
Yeah, you just don't hear about the guys because they high-five each other in the hallway.
Well, you remember there's been a couple when Shorty got pregnant and stuff like that. National news.
Yeah.
But yes, and anyway, they do definitely get props and whatever. But to me, I would think people pretty unanimously agree with the fact that teachers should not be sleeping with their students.
No, absolutely.
Okay. I'm talking about the rogue stuff when it comes to the culture war that we're having right now, because that's what this is.
Here's how I feel about the rogue stuff that you're talking about. That goes to religion, that goes to sexuality, that goes to a lot of different things that are not curriculum. They're personal beliefs of a teacher.
But so my question is, you have 3 kids. What have your kids ever learned about... Your kids go to a Catholic school, don't they?
No.
Okay. But about sexuality and gender, what have they ever learned about that you felt was inappropriate or rogue? Have you ever had...
No, my kids never had any question about anything in their school, lower school. Lower school, which was elementary, they didn't hear anything about it.
Crisscross applesauce.
There was, other than a few words getting canceled and a few names getting changed of things. Yeah, they didn't hear anything about it. But again, that goes to my point of my kids came out of elementary school not knowing race, gender, any of those things. There was nothing. They were just their friends. Everyone in the entire school were the same. Mm-hmm. So when you start going into...
But this is what I'm saying to you. So this has been your experience. So when you're outraged or you're upset, it's got nothing to do with how your kids were actually educated. It's the stories that you're hearing. Again, these rogue, these...
It's about... I would feel bad if my kids were singled out as white kids in a school.
But it didn't happen to your kids.
No.
Okay.
No, but it's happening.
That's the point, though. Okay. But Len, to whom? And this is what I'm saying to you. You on this podcast would have the world believe that this is a vapid, rampant problem in America right now.
But you have the world believing that everything else is a rampant problem in the United States right now. But it is, right?
race,
gender.
we've seen it, Len. Like we've saw. Did you see what happened in 2020 in June with George? Like, did you see that? This isn't a new fight for us. The things that I talk about, Lenny, we've been fighting over for 50 plus years.
Yes.
So yes, they are a vapid, rampant problem in this country. When the Supreme Court issues a ruling on something, that is cause for concern. So when I talk about body autonomy and when I talk about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, using his historical and traditional, argument for looking at birth control, marriage equality, those things, that's pretty scary, and that's about as pervasive as it gets, because SCOTUS is the only fucking governing body in our country that literally is unchecked. It's scary. As much as the forefathers or the founding fathers got it right, so I'm beginning to think they got that one wrong. But whatever.
So what's the solution here? What really would?
But is it really an
what
issue?
would really
This
change?
is the
What would
problem, though, Len? Because this is what this show is all about, right?
It is an issue.
Is the divisiveness?
Yeah.
How is it? But where?
But
Where is it an issue?
what fixes all of this divisiveness? I mean, Roe versus Wade should have never been overturned. But more than that, it was a constitutional.
I want to talk about the
it was a
teaching
constitutional right.
I get it, but I want to talk about the teaching thing though, because everybody gets up in arms about something that did not happen to and is not happening to their kids, and we ended up.
Yeah, but Kimmy, when they're passing laws that say a teacher does not have to inform a parent.
This isn't a law. This is literally a school board making a decision that school board people that parents voted on are deciding. So these are the people, and it's going to the people. You're talking about what's happening.
It's happening in schools. Yes, it's happening in different.
Okay.
There's different.
Okay. But what I'm saying is,
every state has different rules that they're imposing on schools. Every state.
And in Florida, we had the "Don't Say Gay" bill, right?
Okay. Yes.
No, but Lenny, let me just explain to you what is frustrating me. It's the narrative that you're now a part of.
Okay.
They ran on a platform when they were pushing this, and they were getting the story out about why this was an important bill. It was because teachers were teaching kindergartners about sex and about gender identity and about this and that and whatever. And everybody I've asked, did your kids ever learn about this in kindergarten through third grade? No. So who was teaching it? They would have you believe that this was, again, a vapid, rampant problem in the Florida public school system. And I still have yet to find one
Let me ask you a question. What was necessary to pass that bill?
Absolutely nothing. The House and the fucking
right. So why did we ever hear about it? Why did we ever hear about it if the public had nothing to do whether it passed or failed? Why did we hear about it?
First of all, we should be hearing about every bill that's going through our
That's besides the point. That's not the point.
No.
The point is,
you're even asking me that, because now you're talking about covert, backdoor,
that's not what I'm talking about, Kimmy. I'm talking about why they make these things
because we have a right to know it's being passed.
And
that is a dramatic, Lenny. That is a very dramatic fucking law. I don't know why you don't get that. It's so frustrating for me. Literally, you are telling people. You are forcing teachers back into the closet, literally. Teachers who are incredible educators that are not trying to push their agenda onto anybody, are just trying to live their authentic life. Don't have pictures of your partner up in your room because a kid might ask a question and we don't want to make the school. Literally, our public schools can now be sued by parents who deem whatever unnecessary, as if public schools aren't facing enough funding issues as it is, right? And again, it was supposed to be K through third grade, and we just saw it impact 12th graders in Miami-Dade County when they shot down a proposal to honor LGBTQ History Month. The curriculum was only for 12th graders. Only for 12th graders. So that bill, why did we hear about it, that was only supposed to be effective or impacting K through third grade, has now impacted all the way up through high school and literally an entire community in Miami.
Apparently, people like DeSantis.
Or 9.
It's
8 or 9. No, we didn't vote on it though.
I get it, but you voted the crazy person in.
I most certainly.
Yeah, but somebody did, which is the majority of the state.
Talk about who he was running against.
But it's the majority of the state. So when.
And what is the majority? 53%. Stop.
But it's still the majority of the state. If you want to live in a democracy,
you act like it was a fucking landslide.
Listen,
knock it off.
I think
President Trump won the election, but didn't win the popular vote.
They are overstepping their boundaries as as state lawmakers. That goes without saying. I think everything should be voted on that has, importance
so let me
and
ask you a
impact
question, though.
on
So
our
do you
communities.
agree with the fact? So because my issue with the teacher thing and the situation that you're talking about, there was supposedly some sort of heteronormative list. I don't know. It was another list. It was like the opposite list to the list they wanted to make in Florida, and it was just mind blowing because Wisconsin is, I don't know as a state, but like Madison is one of the most progressive cities in America. Like that's just like a known fact. They have a massive LGBTQ population. Which it's funny because we talk about the Midwest and you would think the Midwest is whatever, but it is not. And that's why I was actually thinking about that on my way in. But with the teacher thing, like what is up with the lists now that these states want to make? Who's gay? Who's straight? Who told? Who can I tell? Like what teachers are having, like clandestine, I don't want to say clandestine, but like, covert meetings with students. Like it's so wild to me because at the end of the day, teachers, I have a radio show. We have a lot of teachers that listen. They just want to fucking teach. But in the meantime, they've got to come out of pocket to outfit their classrooms, buy supplies. That can be cleaning. So, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, literally, we stack everything against them. They don't earn a livable wage.
Listen,
and then we want to dictate.
Every teacher in this country should walk out of school. They should walk out of the school. See what happens. Listen, you want change, it has to be drastic. We just spent 2 years on lockdown.
But
we spent 2 years on lockdown. No.
Make up your mind. You're mad about, like, they're fighting for change that you don't like. So that's the wrong change. Now that's the change that you do like.
No.
Now just walk out.
It's not
like,
change I don't like. I think parents have the right to know what's going on with their kids.
Says the man who sends his kid to private school. Like, let's not encourage all of our public school educators to, like, just walk out of school. Like,
I wouldn't care if the private school teachers walked out too. I think they deserve more money. I think they deserve, more freedom in their classroom. But, at what cost? There has to be some...
You can't say you think that they deserve more freedom in the classroom and then, like, when you were already saying that they shouldn't be teaching about X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, but what does freedom look like? And what is that?
Is
that the poster that you get to hang on the wall? Is that the freedom? Like,
that's part of it, I guess.
I mean... that's so that to me is the question. Is Wisconsin is keeping things like teachers have always been seen as protectors of their students. They've always been seen as authority figures. When I was raised, that was what you were told. Like, yo, your teacher is me when I'm not with you. Some of these teachers are spending more time with kids than their parents spend with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you want to tell them they can't discipline your child. They can't reprimand your child. They need to tell you absolutely. If you want to know what's going on with your kid, talk to your fucking kid. Don't be mad that your kid feels more comfortable sharing with a teacher, what's going on their mind.
It's not being mad, Kimmy. If
your child is depressed and suicidal because they're being bullied, different situation.
Or if they're depressed and suicidal because they feel like they're misgendered.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
But if they can't tell you, if they can't tell a parent, there's a reason why they can't tell
Kids are scared to tell their fucking parents anything.
Yeah, but Len...
Kids are scared to tell me one time, Kimmy, that you did something wrong and you weren't scared to tell your mother.
That's not wrong!
No,
it's not wrong, though.
Tell me when you...
Reword what the fuck you just said, though.
This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with you personally.
No, it's how you just said it.
Oh, Jesus. See, that's the problem.
People
can't...
Is being gay wrong?
No, I'm not talking about the gay. I'm talking about...
No, you said misgendered. If they feel like they're misgendered, they
that was before...
And then you went in and you said, how many times have you done something you thought was wrong?
Yeah, I said, what kid wants to tell their parent anything that they did wrong? I said that after I said about the misgendered, and then I ask you.
Is being misgendered wrong?
Why are you twisting words? The point is that kids tell fucking things. They don't want to tell their parents anything. A kid might not feel like they can tell their parents.
I told my mother everything.
Really?
Yes.
Were you scared to?
Nope.
You were never scared to tell your mom. Were you never in fear of telling your mom that you fucking skipped school or something?
I was scared of letting her down. Yes. I was not scared of getting beat. I was not scared of getting
kicked out of it doesn't matter, but you were scared.
Lenny, those are very different things, though. Those are very different things. And when it comes to sexuality, you have no clue. The largest portion of our unaccompanied youth are literally LGBTQIA plus kids who've been kicked out of home.
What did you just say? The largest what of our youth?
The largest part of our unaccompanied youth, which is our homeless youth. That's
which is how big is our homeless youth?
It's like 50,000 kids in LA County alone. Would you like to know?
Yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to know how. I'd like to know
1,000 kids in Miami-Dade County alone that don't have a permanent residence.
out of how many kids. I'm just curious. I'm just curious what the number is because
I'm
it's
sure
it's
a million. The fact that that's even a justifiable statement in your mind is mind.
No, I'm just curious how many there is.
With any kids being homeless
I'm not.
in America, but cool. How many homeless? Let's look this up. Right now, we're looking
Homeless. It's not homeless kids.
homeless
It's
youth. How many homeless youth are in America? Is that
homeless.
What you know?
Homeless youth.
In America?
Not homeless. Familyless is what you're talking about.
No. I'm talking
Homeless. They could be homeless with their parents.
Lenny, you don't fucking listen. I said, do you know that the largest portion of our unaccompanied youth
Okay,
is
so
LGBTQIA?
unaccompanied. Okay.
So that is homeless, and they can be homeless with their
That's
parents.
not homeless. It's unaccompanied.
Len!
It's parentless.
Lenny, I work with the fucking homeless trust of Miami-Dade County. I think I
Okay.
know a little bit more about this than
Okay.
clearly you do, but cool. 1 in 10 young adults ages 18 to 25 and at least 1 in 30 adolescents experience some form of homelessness unaccompanied by a parent or guardian over the course of a year. So 1 in 10.
1 in 10.
Let's see how many of them are LGBTQ. Are LGBTQI. Up to 40% of the 4.2 million youth experiencing homelessness identify as LGBTQ.
And are they homeless because of that? I'm just asking because your argument, but your argument is that they if they tell their parents, that's why.
Why a lot of them don't, though, Lenny. What I'm telling you is it's a very big problem in this country, and you don't know that because you don't know that. So this is why kids are fearful to come out to parents who have clearly told them, if you happen to be gay or use some other expletive, like, you're out of my fucking house. Like, I'm sorry, you're not my son. I told you. My coworker, 28 years old, hid his relationship because he knew he'd already seen his father disown his sister. He'd already seen it happen. 28, that's a whole grown-ass man still not being honest with his parents. But he had teachers in high school that knew he was gay or that knew he was bisexual. He was in drama. He was in all of these things, and he felt comfortable in that space. But he had a Nicaraguan father who was just set in his ways. Good man, good provider, right? But was just not accepting of that lifestyle. So if you want a roof over your fucking head and you want your college tuition paid for, guess what? You don't tell your dad you're gay. You won't understand that because you're an accepting father. And I know, Len, no matter what happens with your children, you will always love them and you will always care for them. But not every parent is like you. And that is why school boards are fighting for things like this. Because when it comes down to certain issues that you cannot wrap your mind around because you're not that kind of parent, it is, again, a pervasive issue in this country, and it's getting worse as people continue to try to force this narrative that gay is wrong, gay shouldn't be taught, LGBTQIA, that it's something that you can control, or that, teaching about it or reading about it is making kids gay. That is not how this works. And the more we continue with this, the more detrimental it's going to be to everybody. We already have skyrocketing suicide rates amongst young people. You mentioned it when we started today's episode. The youth of this country are depressed, they're anxious, they're on fucking pills, and it's wild. So, you act like you can't understand why things like this are happening, and this is why, Len, because it's a problem, and not every parent is like you. And teachers are a safe space, and we've taken that away in Florida. And you know what? I'm gonna applaud Wisconsin for trying to protect a little bit of that sanctity.
I don't know. I still have a problem with it.
I know you do, but I would hope that you could understand when that logic is presented to you that there's a reason. I'm with you when it comes to other things. If a kid is being bullied or if a kid is feeling suicidal and it's not about an issue at home, there's issues where you can have a parent who's like, you know that kids have been beat, especially young men. If young men are more effeminate and they come from a very, alpha male or dominant household, where maybe they're meant to feel less than, or maybe a dad is not here for the bullying, you know what I'm saying? Like, punch him in his fucking face or whatever the case is. There are some, very aggressive alpha types that don't want to hear that their kid is, having his lunch money taken. They might beat his ass. I don't know. But sometimes teachers that spend hours every day with students see things that us sitting on this couch in the man cave can't possibly be factoring in to the discussion. You know what I mean? So if a teacher's not telling a parent something, I would hope that it really is for the benefit of the child. And the fact that we've gotten to this place where we're constantly questioning these people that we at once regarded with such high esteem and literally entrust our kids to every day, that's scary. It's scary. Because, I mean, that just, again, the crumbling of the public school, like the public education system, the questioning of our teachers, the constant breakdown of their credibility.
That's 50 years in the making, though.
I get it, Len, but that's my point. So all of these things, these systematic things, these pervasive things, are all real problems. So we can't, you can't sit here and say that there are things that shouldn't be addressed or there's bigger issues. These are the issues that are crumbling the foundation of our country.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that those are the issues that are crumbling our country.
You don't believe that?
I don't believe that those are, listen, those are the issues that are dividing our population. That I'll give you, but that's not what's crumbling our country. Our country is in much dire straits, and this is just a way for that to continue, okay? This division of people in the United States over these issues
Lenny,
is
they're
what's
important issues, though.
But that's not what's crumbling our country. That's what's keeping us apart. That's what's keeping us, the people, from taking our country back.
Yeah, but I get it. But Len, we sit in here every day and we still have the conversation.
Yeah, it's the same conversation.
No, but
it's the same thing.
But we have the conversation. The unfortunate part is there's large sectors that aren't.
No.
And that's where the real problem lies. Because we, at the end of the day, leave here. Yes, we might be exhausted, but we come back next week and we do it all again. So clearly, you can disagree with people, you can fight with people, and you can still love them and embrace them and hope for a better tomorrow, right? Like that we prove week in and week out. The problem is when people aren't getting in the same room together. But Len, for you to sit here and dismiss these as minor scrapes on the surface, like, I know what you're talking about. When we talk about the prison industrial complex, that's one thing. When we talk about the fact that we're selling all of our farmland to China and those farms happen to be right next door to army bases, that's pretty scary too, and ain't nobody talking about that shit, but that's for another episode.
Well, Gates is buying up most of the farmland.
You said what?
Gates is buying up most of the farmland.
No. The Chinese.
Both.
I don't give a fuck about Bill Gates buying the shit. I give a fuck about the Chinese buying shit next to our military bases.
The Chinese already own more shit in this country than anybody else.
Lenny. I know this, but like, that's an issue. Like, that's a problem, and giggling about it doesn't make me very happy because. But do you know how many people don't know that? You know how many people go to Rockefeller Center and think, oh, this is American? It's not. You know how many people go and see different buildings or different landmarks in the U.S.?
This country was sold 75 years ago.
That doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, but they want us fighting over this.
No, but
they want us fighting over this while they strip the rest of the country.
Lenny, but guess what? We do have to fight over this. We do. There's a moral obligation to be better. Like, and I get that you sit where you sit and you're
teaching people to be kind and compassionate is
I want it to be better.
Should be that.
Shame on me.
It should be better, and it should, but you're not going to fix it having this fight.
But
there's no.
And we didn't fix it not addressing it either. It's only
I'm not saying
worse.
not to address it either. I'm saying address it where it really should be addressed.
Where does it get addressed? Because you wanted to come in here and use this platform to talk about teachers, and I just told you this breakdown of this.
Yeah, I just told you how I believe that teachers shouldn't be able to withhold information about students from their parents. Mm-hmm. That's
carte blanche.
Carte blanche.
Okay, so even if that kid is going to get his ass beat when he gets home, even if he's going to get kicked
how
out
do
of the
they
house,
know that? How does the teacher know that? Just tell me. How does the teacher know that kid's going to get his ass beat? How does the teacher know that kid's going to get his ass beat?
If the child lives in an abusive,
how does the teacher know?
How does the teacher not? So do you want to be the teacher that the kid comes in and is dead because he gets beat?
But how does the teacher know?
How does the teacher not?
I mean, is the kid coming in with bruises every day on him? How does the teacher know that the parents are not going to accept them?
Lenny, if the child is confiding that in them, I mean, I don't understand why you have such a hard time. Once again, wrapping.
I'll tell you why I don't have a hard why I have a hard time with it.
Because kids don't know what they're talking about.
I'll tell you because I've raised 3 children
in an accepting household.
No, for you in the fucking accepting household. It's not about that. It's about kids say things.
Oh my God, Lenny.
All right. It's
I know
If my
people that
kid,
have been kicked out
if
of the
my
house.
fucking
What are you
kid, if
talking
my
about?
kid walked into school tomorrow and said, my dad fucking kicks my ass, okay? They're going to be up my ass, right?
Yep.
Why? Because my kid said so. Why? Because my kid was mad at me.
Literally, though,
so,
you know that
but
this has to do, but you're using this as such. Again, this is not you're spinning a false
you're,
narrative.
but
on
who's telling the teacher that their parents would never accept this? The kid is telling the teacher that their parents would never
think
accept
that they would
this.
be out to their parents if they thought that their parents would accept it. People don't make this kind of shit up. You don't get it because you had somebody sit here and tell you their experience.
Yeah.
You've now had another person. I'm sharing with you the personal experience of people that are very close to me, and you're still just tuning it completely out.
I'm not tuning it out,
And
Kimmy.
you're spinning-
Listen, there's
Len.
exceptions to everything, but blanket.
But that is that. It's not a blanket rule, though, Len. It is specific with regards to sexual identity. That is specifically what that law that you're talking about is about. And now you're stretching it to the what if and down the line. And I can understand where that comes from because they did that shit in Florida with the Don't Say Gay bill. So yes, things can get expanded to other areas, but I don't see teachers inherently or maliciously keeping pertinent information about their children, about the well-being of children. That's their whole purpose, is for these kids to be happy, healthy, educated kids.
Yeah.
If they are coming from a loving, happy, healthy household, right? They spend time with, this is why they're teachers. They go to school for this. Some of them go and get extended degrees so that they have an understanding of psychology or sociology or whatever. Like, either you're going to trust them to make good decisions with your children or not. When did this narrative, come? You trust them to beat your child when they're bad, but you don't trust them to know, like, if a kid is coming to them, like, on some, listen, I'm going to get kicked out of my house type of shit.
I don't trust the kids.
7-year-old. That's
I don't trust the kids. Okay? I don't trust the kids. Okay?
And why do
I
you
don't
care if
trust
the teacher doesn't tell your
I
kid
don't
that
trust
your
that
kid is
a
gay?
12-year-old
Why should a teacher have to rat your kid out for being gay?
I don't
Why?
trust that a 12-year-old
Why are you entitled to that information if your child doesn't feel comfortable enough telling you?
I don't even want to.
No, I'm asking
because
that
they're my
question.
child.
Okay,
because
they
they're
didn't-
my
but
child.
what does that say about you as a parent if your kid doesn't feel comfortable enough coming
Maybe-
to you but could confide in a teacher?
Listen, you know the way I am, okay?
Again, you're
But
putting
listen,
on
you
yourself.
know that I'm fuck your feelings, blah, 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 blah. But my kids are nervous to say things to me. My kids who you say I'm there for them, I'm there, they're both nervous to tell me things, okay? Because that's just the nature of kids, okay? Kids don't want the reaction of their parents necessarily because they think it might not be good. So a 12-year-old thinks that his dad is going to get mad if he says this. Thinks. He doesn't know. How does he know? How does the 12-year-old know?
About what it's about.
Okay.
Sexuality.
Yeah. How does the 12-year-old know that if he comes out to his parents that they're going to hate it? Or they're going to hate him? Or they're going to take it out on him? How do they know?
Overheard the parents talking negatively about LGBTQ
That
culture or
okay,
issues
and
or
that's
something like that.
okay, I get that. But they're still their parent. If that parent loves that child.
So let me ask you a question. One of your kids' friends, right, just feels safe in your house, comes out to you.
Yeah.
Are you telling their parents that they're gay?
Yeah.
Wow.
Am I telling them? No. I'm encouraging that
Them
child
to tell their parents.
to tell their
But
parents.
You're not telling
and
their
I'm going to
parents.
follow up with it
Yep.
and make sure that they do. Okay?
Fine.
Okay,
so
I did
why-
the same thing
So
with-
what's the difference with a teacher doing the same thing and not directly telling you, but following up? How are things at home?
To
Are you
what?
feeling more
To what end,
comfortable?
though? Did you tell your parents? Are they going to stay on them? Are they going to make sure they tell their parents? Maybe you should look at this and write it down and tell them how. Go over it to yourself how you're going to explain it to them. That's fine. That's guidance.
Yeah.
That's guidance.
But that's not telling you. and
But
that's
there's got to be a point. There's got to be a point. Kimmy, you can't just let it go forever. Okay? It's certain things just parents should know. And it's to the parents too. Your parents, the parents of these children should be involved in the schools.
But that's that's the other part of this argument is that again, you're outraged as a very active parent, and yet if you talk to a lot of guidance counselors, you talk to a lot of teachers, it takes days to get return phone calls from parents when things are going wrong in the classroom. You'd be amazed at how few parents show up to parent-teacher conference day. You know what I'm saying? There was a child one time at a school that I was principal for the day at. Child was about to be arrested. I'm talking about a middle school. About to be arrested. They called the mother. I can't make it right now. Well, then you're going to have to pick your son up at the police station. She came down. She was at the gym. And this is not like a rare occurrence. You have parents who drop their children off in kindergarten, not potty trained, and kids in the middle of the classroom shitting on the floor. So a teacher is expected to potty train your child, right, in kindergarten, first grade, some of them, but cannot put them in a timeout when they talk back to you, right? Like, so this is the life of a teacher in 2020.
I get it. The whole system is broken. The whole system is broken.
But I remember being a kid and being in middle school and again, I had an incredible relationship with my mother. You know, so and I was lucky in that way. But I had friends that confided in my mom about things that they would never tell their parents. Abortions, you know what I'm saying? Hysterical crying. My mother was not going to call their very strict Portuguese parents and let them know not only that their daughter was having sex as a good Catholic girl, but that she had had an abortion too. Are you kidding me? Now, my mom didn't take the girl for the abortion, for God's sakes, but she was the shoulder to cry on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and that to me is being a good, that's also being a good role model. That's being a good adult.
Yes. And that, you know, as an adult, that's your choice. As a teacher, there's obligations both to the child and the parents. As a teacher, there's obligations to both.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, for sure.
As your mom.
But what I'm saying to you is I don't disagree with you. But this particular bill, and that's why I don't like when we make vague statements on this podcast. That is not what is happening in Wisconsin, because that will get taken. And oh my God, they're trying to keep. That's not what's happening. This is specifically about sexuality, and there's some other weird thing with some list happening there too. So I'm not totally here for everything that's going on, but because I'm very well aware of the other dynamic that can happen when kids are coming out at a young age and how many children don't come out until adulthood, even in 2022, to their parents who are otherwise loving, accepting people because, you know, it's just difficult. You know, I know how important that confidant is. I know that teachers have saved lives by being a safe space, by being a haven, by being a confidant, right? And it's not that they're going out there, they're not giving them condoms, they're not promoting promiscuity. They're simply a place for somebody to come when they have no other outlet and they could be on the verge of suicide. Like, that's the other issue with this particular community. Len, suicide is prevalent, and it's getting more and more prevalent amongst our youth in general. And the more safe places we take away from them, it's scary. So, and that's on a teacher too. Now imagine you tell a parent and the next thing you know, something terrible happens. Like, so again, are we going to trust them to use their judgment? You know, do they know the parent? Do they know these people? Have they come in for parent-teacher and that's why, to your point, it's important. Develop a relationship with the teacher where the teacher trusts you as a parent, knows who you are as a parent, knows your parenting style, and it's like, okay, I know how to broach this subject with Lenny. Like, I know what he'll take, you know, to heart, and I think that we can have a conversation together. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that teachers want to keep things from parents as a whole. Are there some probably weirdo one-offs? I'm sure there's some power trippers out there.
Oh, yeah.
That love, you know, being the friend and love being the cool teacher and the one that everybody tells everything to. You know what I mean? Yeah, those teachers definitely exist. But when you're talking about, you know, the majority, they have so much shit on their plate. You think they want some kids' mental health on their plate? Like,
I don't know. I just don't think it should be a law.
I don't think that it is a law, though.
I don't think that it should be a mandate in a public school.
But paddling should.
Well,
because that's the other mandate that went through in Iowa. So, let's talk about all that.
Listen, I'm all for paddling. I got my ass paddled when I was in elementary school. Twice.
Well, yeah. I mean, my mom went to Catholic school.
Twice.
The same thing happened. I don't think I ever had anything like that.
Public school in Dade County. Ives Dairy Road.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. So did you say what you needed to say about your teacher issue?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good.
Are we?
Let's wrap it up.
Are we sure? All right. Obviously, another intense episode here on the ManTFup podcast. Like, subscribe, share, follow everywhere. Please comment in all the comments, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you have any ideas for future topics, if you have some insight, if you want to be a guest, we'd love to hear from you too. You know, it's been an interesting run, Len. We're almost coming up on a year, aren't we?
Pretty close.
Right?
October?
November
1st or November, first week in November maybe. Yeah.
Crazy. Well, we've had some interesting.
This is episode 35? 36. 35.
35.
Yeah.
Yowzers. 35.
35.
35. My eternal age. All right. That's a wrap. We'll see you next time on the ManTFup podcast on ManTFupTV, baby.
Peace.